my wife then and I bought a bus and school bus, took the seats out, put it on AstroTurf and a couple of pillow chairs, and we decided we were just going to go back across the country and see everybody we knew.
You're watching the Spotlight Network, starring Hollywood's newsman, Logan Crawford.
They now believe a single member.
He works with TV and film legends. And now, Logan's shining the spotlight on the world's top emerging authors and creators.
International were abducted.
This is Spotlight with Logan Crawford, streaming on Roku, Apple TV, and Amazon Fire TV.
I'm Logan Crawford, and right now on Spotlight, we're exploring a deeply personal and introspective work entitled You. Written by a terrific author, his name is Vane Lashua. He has penned a powerful book, and in the book, he shares his life experience that spans education, publishing, cutting-edge energy innovation, as well as other pursuits. This unique book invites readers to reflect on their identity, relationships, and place in the universe. Combining personal insight with universal questions, You delivers a thought-provoking journey that's as timeless as it is intimate. We're delighted to have this very talented author join us here today on Spotlight. We thank the team at Authors Tranquility Press for helping us put him in the spotlight today. And we ask viewers like you to support authors like him by subscribing to our channel and by purchasing his amazing book. The links are below this interview. Vane, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's my pleasure. This is such an insightful book. I think it's going to help a lot of people on their own personal journeys of self-discovery. What inspired you to write You, and what do you hope readers take away from it?
Well, in the past, I've always wanted to write a book. I wrote one and put together some literature, but I've always written poetry and essays and short stories that I've collected and so on, but I've never published them, except once in a while I send things to a poetry magazine or some other magazine. And now I thought, why not just put it all together, one thing at a time, and that's become the book, You. And that's a collection that starts when I was in high school and moves on, not necessarily in that order, but it's a collection from my whole life, and
Yeah.
and like I said, I enjoyed putting it together, and I hope you enjoy reading it.
Absolutely. Give us a little overview of the book. What will they find inside the covers?
It's not a novel. It's not something. It's. I was hoping that people who read it would read the poetry and take something away for themselves. It's a. I learned a lot from the poem written by W.H. Auden called You, and it was in my high school days, where he starts with, "Really must you overfamiliar dense companion be there always," and it's about sometimes we always blame others for our issues or blame others for our success, but really where it all starts is right here. We have both you and you in the brain. And that I really enjoy the way that poem is expressed, and it's included in the book. So it really helped me start out that way.
A compilation of writings that you've accumulated and stored up over the years. Talk to us about some of the writings in there that are most significant to you and you think will have the greatest impact on our viewers and readers.
That's difficult.
Yeah.
It's a one story at a time and one poem at a time. I'm the most helpful way I've seen to read it. And I actually, a couple of weeks ago, I read it myself again, and it is to read one poem at a time, or one story at a time, and use it as you're going. It's not meant to be a ultimate pleasure machine like a lot of poetry or novels try to do, but it's a collection, and you can use it as you wish, not the whole thing at once.
Yeah. Which one stands out to you, though, personally? Which is one when you were writing it or putting it in the compilation, you said, "Oh, I remember writing that," and it really has great impact on you. Tell us about one of those stories.
It's I'm looking right now in the it's the biggest one is either this is terrible. I should be able to say over.
No, sometimes
Um,
you write a book and it's hard to remember what was even inside. Trust me, I know what that's like. I'll read a
um,
book that I wrote and I'll be like, "Did I actually write that?" I'm like, "It's pretty good." So
yeah.
hopefully you have the same aha moment that you find something in there that you feel is very, very much a standout.
Well, that's the oh, they're all standouts. I guess.
Of course.
The,
I know I'm
the
asking you to choose among children, without a doubt.
the one that I like to play with language and sound also, and as well as communicate a feeling
Uh-huh.
and hope that someone else will participate. But Aftermath of Memory, The Lovers is was one of my favorites. That's and it's written uh, well. It has its own structure and it's a poem.
Mm.
It's meant to communicate the love that we all have.
Yeah. Is it a romantic love, a familial love, all
Well,
love?
yes, a romantic love, and um, I've had several of those.
Yeah.
I try to communicate that.
Exactly, exactly. And you have quite a romantic story in your own life that you're living through right now. If you wouldn't mind sharing it with the audience, I think it's quite terrific. You met a woman on your 50th reunion from high
High
school. Is
school
that what it
class
was? Yeah.
reunion,
Yeah.
yes, and was living in New York. She wanted to come to New York, so and we had known each other in high school. We didn't date or anything, but she came to New York, and we showed her around, and we traveled, and then we traveled together several places, and then I came to Connorsville, where I was born and grew up, and we our relationship matured, and now we've been engaged for 10 years as fiancés. We decided that
Beautiful.
we'd been married a couple of times each, and marriage is a little more complicated, and we're fiancés. And
That's fine. You don't have to be married. All you have to be is committed to each other and in love with each other.
yeah,
And I think that's wonderful. It's a beautiful love story, particularly a half a
thank you.
century after graduating high school. You look too young to have had your 50th reunion from high school 10 years ago, but that's a testament to good living, no doubt. You've also had many, many different hats you've worn during your life, different careers. Talk to us a little bit about your working life and what that's been like.
When I at first I had graduated in English with my regular BA degree. Then I went to I saw this program called the Teacher Corps, which at the time it was set up so that you could go to a school and teach while they paid for your master's degree and I went to Kentucky and Western Kentucky University, got my master's over the course of those 2 years, and then and taught school. And during the summers, I flew around.
Mm.
Later on, my dad lived in my oh boy, this is complicated. I'm mixing it
That's
up.
okay.
My
We got lots
parents,
of time.
my mother and father met during World War II. My mother was a seamstress parachute person. My dad was a paratrooper. He had jumped into
Mm.
Japan, and he was from San Francisco, the San
Mhm.
Francisco area. And his so they I'm probably the reason they're married, and and they my mother moved to San Francisco to live with dad, and then she didn't like it, and she wanted to come back to Indiana, so they came back to Indiana, and he didn't like farming where my family's farm is. Then uh, they they separated and he went back. But meanwhile, as I was a teenager, I got to travel back and forth to California, and I got geography lessons, and I just had a wonderful time. And so that was the beginning of my the travel. I got to hitchhike across the country and took a bus and train and different kinds of things. Traveled to Canada, where originally where my father's family had come from. Then anyway, after I got my master's, I I got a job with the Bureau of Indian Affairs at that time. It was Department of the Interior, and I was asked to teach in Alaska. I taught in a wonderful uh, primary school, elementary school in Sitka, Alaska, and we had kids from all over the state come down, and so I had lots of cultures and things. And once a year, the parents were invited to come, so they came down, and I got to a really nice experience learning about Alaska, the population, all the families and generations that have been there. And eventually, during the summer, I went down and went to University of California at San Francisco for some classes and things, and caught up. Excuse me. So that was very nice. And when I got finished there in Alaska and retired from, or was asked to retire from the Bureau of Indian Affairs, I was only a 2-year commitment. I went to my wife then and I bought a bus and school bus, took the seats out, put it on AstroTurf and a couple of pillow chairs, and we decided we were just going to go back across the country and see everybody we knew. And I forgot to mention that during that time, when just after I graduated from high school or college, we were married. I was married to a woman who I met, and we both were in the teacher corps. Anyway, so we drove the bus from Canada down to Vancouver, Seattle, down the coast. Went to see my father and my family in the San Francisco area. On down to San Diego, where had a friend that I met in France, and he and I are still communicating, as a matter of fact. Then we just drove across the country and stopped where we wanted to stop, and had a wonderful time in the bus. It didn't get very good mileage, but at that time gas was a little less expensive, and so we traveled and wound up in Bloomington, Indiana. We went all the way to New York and to see some people up in Massachusetts, and came back to Bloomington, where we'd gone to undergraduate school, and started a little business there. I thought it's called Hierographics. We were going to help people. We were going to help people write or make art or whatever, and that didn't make any money. we had a little lengthy experience. So we started. I got a job with the Graphic Arts Technical Foundation, which is at that time Lithographic Technical Foundation. Went to printing companies around the country and helping them to choose equipment and do typesetting, which at the time was just beginning, photo typesetting, and the young the printing era was it missed. The printing business was just changing completely. People were pasting things up instead of setting type in forms, and they had integrating photographs and graphic arts. So it was to choose the equipment and help to put it together. That's what I started doing. And I got to travel all over the country doing that. And then went to got an offer from a company in Pittsburgh and started working there and doing pretty much the same thing locally. And then I went to work for the Reader's Digest, doing helping the editing and changing over from the old-fashioned way of doing things to the new fashion, putting together that. I worked there for about 10 years, and then worked at Sotheby's in New York, and in putting the art into the catalog for them, not for them, for me too, and had I just had a really wonderful career that way. And gradually, over the years, it evolved into, I went back to Bloomington and, um, I don't know, I just had a really wonderful variety of experiences.
Very much, more than most people. You didn't let the dust settle under your heels too much. You were on the road quite a bit, right?
Yes.
Yeah, wonderful. The trip, let's talk about Alaska first. That must have been such an amazing experience. I mean, working in Alaska is almost like working in a different country. It's as remote in the United States as you can get. What was that like? You know, being a
Well,
young man in a frontier state at that point.
well, the school where I worked was in Sitka. Which is in the southeast part of Alaska, and is a very interesting town because it's a stop on ferry tours and things. It's right about, well, it's across a little mountain island from Juneau, which is the capital, and it's on the school itself was on an island, and it was called Mount Edgecombe School because in the background there's a Mount Edgecombe is a volcano, a former volcano that's there, beautiful, and that whole southeast part of Alaska is more like Chicago weather rather than it's nothing. It's not polar or anything. It's very, very nice. Anchorage and that area is the same thing. And we had kids from all over the state, like I said, and it was very interesting to explore all the different aspects of Alaska. We
Yeah,
always do think of it as that lost state up there. It's cold, but
yeah.
really a lot of variety.
Yeah, amazing, amazing. And the trip around the country in the bus sounds awesome. Was that in the 60s or the 70s? Were you one of these long-haired hippie people at the time? Tell us a
Partly,
little bit about it.
I became. I had a goatee and long hair, and we in the bus we did
Yeah.
that. But that was in just after. Uh, let's see, that was the late '70s, early '80s,
Hmm.
and so it was when the technology was changing, and that was one of the really good things that experience that I had had was helping people move from one technology to another. The first portable computers. The I had an Osborne, I still have it, an Osborne computer. It was the size of a sewing machine to carry around with you, but also terminals and uh, I I trying to say think what to say. It was terminals instead of telephones. In addition to
Mhm.
telephones, when companies started using the computer and connecting people with what was it wasn't called the internet then, just uh,
Yeah.
networks.
Yep.
So that was fun. I mean, that was an interesting time.
Yeah. And cutting edge, you working in advanced technology and geothermal energy as well, right?
Oh, yeah, that when I went to California once, I got involved with geothermal energy, a deep geothermal organization. They have uh, they've started a business out of drilling wells and replacing electrical plants with deep geothermal, we call it. Geothermal, most people think of it as the pipe you run down the yard and keep your water, above freezing. But this is the deep geothermal is you dig a mile down. It's very hot. You can boil the water down there and steam comes up and runs a mill. So oftentimes I wonder why people, instead of building a nuclear plant or any other kind of that kind of plant, why not put it in one place? All your resources are right there. You don't have to go over to uh, Utah and buy your nuclear or wherever you have to go and process it. It's all, and then when it's over, you got to put it away. And
Mm.
all that, it seemed to me, geothermal is really a good solution. And same thing with, it's just like if you have a water power plant, uh, hydro, the resource is there all the time, and you don't have to go out and buy coal or buy burning gas and then spew it into the atmosphere.
Mm.
It's all right there, and there's no pollution. And that's something I've sorry that I haven't gone back to. I mean, I haven't talked to Duke Energy or local people here or when I was in New York.
Yeah.
It really is, seems to me to be a good opportunity and a good way to go.
Absolutely, absolutely. Talk to us a little bit about your time at Columbia University and how that impacted your life and your perspective.
Yes. Um, it just, I was making up courses there for the courses at Indiana that I spent a year in Europe. I went over during the summer with a group of people from IU in my right after my sophomore year there. And I, as we were traveling around, two of us got a Volkswagen and an old Volkswagen, and we drove it all over the place. And then the other guys, the other people, we met back at the Paris airport to come home, and we, I just waved goodbye because during the trip, I had met uh, the priest who was in charge of the American church in Nice, and that he offered me if I wanted to stay there, he would I could rent it, and they would feed me Thursday evening, and I could also they provided me tuition to the Centre Universitaire de Méditerranée, which is the French language school in France. It's very well known there, and so I got to go to classes and learn deep French. I mean, I got immersed in French, and I met some people. One fellow that like I said, I've known for the whole time, and another woman that I'd communicated with but haven't seen again. We've known each other since then, and but she lives in southern New York, and uh, we just never got together. So we've had two individual lives. He and Dave Rude is the fellow in Southern California that I met there, and we've had a few adventures together. It's interesting. And then what happened when I left Paris, I went into the market and I actually bought a motorcycle. And I got to travel around on my own till the school year started down in Nice and at the American Church. And that was good. Very, very good for me.
Yeah.
So it just had good luck, good opportunities.
Also, you were daring and bold. I mean, you took
Oh,
these
yeah.
opportunities. I mean, looking at your life, you moved to Alaska, you went around the country in a converted bus. You got on the motorcycle. Was that in France?
Yes.
You're tooling around France on a motorcycle around Nice in
Europe.
southern France, and those are bold things. They're not the choices that most people make, but it's what's made your life so storied and interesting, don't you think?
Oh, thank you.
Yeah.
But their choice, it's just like the couple of things that I've written about. It's not about you have the opportunity in front of you, and many times you don't take it. And
Exactly.
that's I was just lucky enough to have those opportunities, and stupid enough sometimes to take them, and also
Exactly.
fortunate enough.
Exactly. Yeah, we can live any kind of lives we want. We can live in Alaska, we can go to California, we can go around the country on a bus, we can ride motorcycles through the south of France, but you got to decide that's what you want to do. And then you got to figure out a way to do it. And like I said, a lot of people tend to the safer path, the more charted path,
That's,
and you've taken the path less traveled, and that has made all the difference to
mm,
paraphrase a great poet. Let's talk again about your book. You describe it as a mirror held up to the soul. Do you view it as a collection of musings? Do you look at it as a philosophical tomb? Or do you look at it as a memoir, or perhaps a little bit from column A, a little bit from column B, and a little bit from column C?
yes, that it's a bit of a memoir. And each of the poems that as I said, I read it. I've been reading it recently again, but it's the poem is written as a journal entry, more or less, with to describe and explore a particular experience, and it's that's what I've used it for. I think it's just I don't know how to describe it. It's a collection of journal entries, is what
Yeah,
I guess I'm going to say
yeah,
it. And I can
absolutely.
go back and look and see, if things worked out. A couple of interesting things in when I was at Indiana. My uncle Harry was
Mhm.
on the state fair board, and when the Beatles came, we got to sit in the fourth row in front of the Beatles concert during one of the fairs, and I think that was it's one of the things I didn't include that in the book, but it brought me to I got to meet the Beatles and got to say hello and and
Wow.
became a great fan. But
Yeah,
anyway, that sort of opened the door that I've entered several times.
yeah, yeah. You also traveled through China. Tell us a little bit about your travels in China.
Terry, my current fiance, my fiance,
Yeah.
and I we had some opportunities. Uh, Frankly, cost a lot of money, but anyway, we've traveled in Europe, river cruises, and then one of the China came up, an
Mm.
opportunity to go from Beijing over to the west and back over to Shanghai, and that was a great trip, but it was just yet another tourist trip. We got
Yeah.
to stop in the local cities and ride the train and that sort of thing.
It's a different trip when you're working than when you're a tourist. I think you really learn a country and learn the culture and experience things differently. If you were teaching there, let's say, I mean, a difference between taking a cruise to Alaska and then working as a teacher in Alaska are two different things. And you're lucky you
So
had the opportunity to work as you
yes,
did around the country because I think it exposes you to many, many different things than just being a tourist, right?
yes,
Yeah.
I'm really glad about that. Was
Yeah. My big impression of China was when I landed in Beijing, I'm like, the airport must be on fire. And then I walked outside and I'm still choking on the pollution. And I realized it's not on fire. That's just the air quality there. It was, to me, it was shocking. I don't know if you had the same experience. Maybe you were there at a different time, but the air was so thick with smoke when I was in China. I was there for 3 weeks and I was shocked by that. Did you have a similar experience?
actually what the great thing that I saw was you go into the cities and they're just like every other city. They're just like New York or San Francisco or wherever, and the people are walking around and doing. And we always thought of and think of China as the enemy. They've got some sort of thing going on over there, but it was just there's a whole bunch of people and they're living their lives and just like we are. And that was something that meant a lot to me.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, in many ways, it's particularly Shanghai, I thought was almost like a European city.
Yeah.
It's beautiful. But if you peer closely, you're being watched, I think, even more closely than here in the United States. Lots of cameras, lots
Probably.
of police officers. And if you interact with some of the Chinese people, they'll tell you that they're not free to do this or not free to do that. But
Yeah.
in many ways, it is similar. You're right. What do you hope readers take away from you? And I don't mean you personally, I mean you, your book.
Well, it's a chance to reflect on your experience and I was as I wrote, I think I was trying to share um, a way of describing experiences that um, encouraged other people to share those experiences. Like I'm telling you the story of my life, here it is. But I can I don't know how to say it exactly, but it's each each thing is a description of a piece of my life, and I don't know I don't know what you should get out of that,
Yeah.
and maybe it's another way you could look at yourself.
Yeah, I think your introspection leads other people to be introspective about their own lives. And I think that's important. And your adventures and your writings are interesting and philosophical and entertaining. So I think there's a
Thank
lot
you,
to
thank
get there. Absolutely. If you could say anything to your younger self, what would it be? Is there anything you would tell yourself when you were younger?
Well, keep one. Read the books. No, I, I guess it would be to leave the door. When you come to an opportunity, seriously think about it and go ahead.
Mm.
Or don't. That's it's. I had a lot of opportunities that I just sort of ignored, and I think we all have that in our lives. Like when I Bureau of Indian Affairs, that was just a wonderful opportunity, and there it was. So I took it and had a fantastic experience, and that opened many other doors. And I
Yeah.
think that's the way. If you get a job, and don't hurt me for this, but if you get a job that is I've had them where you're working every day and you're going home and tired and you're having your meals and you're sharing some things and you only have the weekends to look at the world. Um, Sometimes that's good. That's wonderful. But at other times it's limiting. We really need to have lots of vacation, I guess.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. If you can live a lifestyle where you work and be able to travel and fulfill your dreams simultaneously, as opposed to being locked into the corporate 9 to 5, the same coworkers, the same experience, the same routine, the same responsibilities every day. I think if you can break free of that, you will have found a wonderful new purpose in life. As I asked you the question about what you would say to your younger self, I heard a great quote the other day. And the guy said, it's from the TV show The Office. And it was, I wish there was a way to know when you're in the good old days that you're in them, you know? That there
Yeah.
was a way to appreciate it and cherish it. I'm sure when you were on that bus, you were like, oh, this is pretty cool. But you didn't realize 50 years later or whatever that it would have such an impact on you, or working in Alaska, or whatever other adventures you went on, taking that motorcycle trip through the south of France. That you got to take the time, and I'm sure you did, to say, hey, this is good, this is living, and I'm enjoying it. And the proof is in the pudding, because you've written a wonderful book, and the name of the book is
Thank
You. It is an invitation to reflect, remember, and rediscover you.
you.
Vane, thank you so much for joining me here today.
Well, thank you for having me. I really appreciate your compliments. Uh, thank you,
Well,
thank you.
they're much deserved, without a doubt. Great work on this book, and such an interesting life you've led and are living. And I appreciate you sharing it with us today. To the folks at home, I'm Logan Crawford, thanking you for your time this time. Until next time on Spotlight.